it's Christmas, because I love him so. We can't believe it's Christmas. A package for my little brother. Can't believe it's Christmas. And even Uncle Joe. We can't believe it's Christmas. We're glad we get to give you something. Can't believe it's Christmas. Our favorite time of year. We can't believe it's Christmas. We're wrapping up a sugar pumpkin. Can't believe it's Christmas. Oh boy, it's finally.
So divinely.
Boy, it's finally here.
Toy was a pretty big step for us.
The big difference between toy and the ones before this is we tried for a grander scope.
The Toy That Saved Christmas was significantly more ambitious than the films we had done before it.
I was the second person that Phil hired.
Back then we had, there was only like 8 of us.
I was the 9th employee.
And there were still only 10 of us, the same number that we had just done. I think Dave and the Giant Pickle was before that, right?
Right.
Which is
Yep,
a much
just
simpler,
before that, yep.
much simpler show. So we kind of killed ourselves to get it done on time.
I remember heat and no sleep.
It was a screw factory.
And smelled the cutting oil that was in the air.
A one-story brick, completely sealed. You can only get in through the doors. Screw factory.
The guy who had built the factory had actually spent way too much on his front offices for the scale to the factory itself. So he went out of business. He went bankrupt.
I think it was the shag carpeting and the...
Yes, I mean, he built himself his own, big wood-paneled office, very 60s, with lime green linoleum tile all over the place. And then his office had shag carpeting, real wood paneling, his own bathroom, personal bathroom. And so he went out of business because he spent too much.
Don't forget about the drapes.
On his office. Oh,
the drapes.
Drapes to die for.
Yep,
It was all very kind of, Austin Powers.
And we actually packed FedEx packages, in the office, sent them to people. People would open them up and say, "That smells like your office." It's like,
so we were shipping this.
Ship the smell.
Yes, shipping the smell across the country. Jim and Jerry,
Ich bin ein Gord.
the landlords, wanted to change the air conditioning unit on the roof of the aforementioned screw manufacturing plant. And this is in September, summer was ending, so they walk in the door in September, go to the woman who was working our front desk at that time and say, "Would now be a good time to shut down the air handling for the year?" And she looked around.
And it was a cool day on that particular day.
Yeah. And said, "I think so." And then they turned around and walked out. We never heard of this conversation. It was never relayed to us. 2 days later, the air conditioning turns off. Then we get a heat wave. So we've got a heat wave in September heading into October. We've got 10 people working on computers trying to finish a show.
It's 110 outside.
And it's 85, 88 degrees, in the office.
I went out and I bought a bathing suit. And I was sitting there working in the bathing suit.
But that's where
sweating.
green linoleum comes in handy, because it
Yes.
stays quite cool, so you
linoleum.
can actually cool off on the linoleum if you lay down flat.
When it got too hot, I would just go out to the atrium with the linoleum floor and sit there, lie down on the floor where it's cooler, and start making sweat angels in an attempt to dump heat. Well, everyone who's made a snow angel can pretty much figure this out. It's the same process, except you're leaving a puddle as opposed to an imprint.
Sooner or later, we developed a infestation of mice.
Sometimes it seemed like they were everywhere.
We had fly paper set up. I don't know if that was to catch mice or not.
Finally, we actually caught a mouse, which kind of scared us a lot because the mouse was still alive. Only he had this one foot that was caught in the tape, and so he's kind of trying to get away, but he's dragging this big piece, this 8.5 by 11 piece of sticky paper that's got a bunch of roaches stuck to it as well. So we all looked at each other. In fact, I think Robert Ellis was the one who said, "Well, we can't kill this mouse." And I'm going, "Well, that's what most people do with mice." He said, No, we got to liberate the mouse. We have to free the mouse." I'm going, "Robert, we've been trying to catch this mouse." "No, we have to free the mouse, free the mouse." So we decided
We would take the trap and march it with the mouse on it, and march it 3 blocks south. and carefully unstick the mouse while singing "Born Free," and the mouse would sort of stickily scuttle off into the underbrush, and we would go back to work.
It dawned on me that this company was definitely unusual when we were in the last week or two of the show.
And of course, it's a Christmas show, so you can't ship it late. You know, there's no shippy lady on a Christmas show, because no one, for Groundhog's Day, people do not buy Christmas videos. So we had to get it done on time. We ended up, working around the clock.
The reason there was this night shift was because the computers, we only had 3 or 4 computers that we could actually work on.
They just wouldn't leave the office. They just had to get the show finished.
I have a very distinct memory of stepping over a sleeping animator in a hallway to get to the edit room, so we could try to finish the show. So there were just people lying on, pieces of foam rubber on the floor,
Right.
trying to sleep while we were getting it done.
We called it the noni foam, remember?
That's right.
My mom's name is Noni, or Nona, Noni for short, and she had all these old foam things that she, used to use under her mattress or whatever, and I, inherited them somehow, and brought them to work, and,
Yes.
everybody laid on the Noni foam.
It was a harrowing time. I remember just people laid out on the floor the very last day, including Phil. We're all just like crashing.
I was still working full-time at a church as a director of music. So I would work my full day at my other job, come home, and at that point my studio was in a spare room in our house. It didn't even have a door. It was just kind of off of our dining room. So I had it half filled with music equipment. So 10 o'clock at night, or whenever Phil was done with his work at the office, he would come over. So we had a lot of very late nights into the morning trying to get the score done. And then he'd, have to get a few hours sleep and go back and go to his regular office.
At this one point, there was an announcement made, and I've been there for 28 hours now, and this announcement comes over our phone intercom. The final shot will be rendered in an hour. And I look at my clock, and it's like midnight, and I'm thinking, an hour, gee, that's going to be 1 a.m. So I get on the train, and the stop before downtown goes right by our offices. And so I'm looking at the window, I look outside, and I notice as we go by the offices, every one of the employees' cars are still there. Look at my watch, it's 9:15.
We had gotten so close to the time we had to have this thing delivered that we had to put Bridget, our administrator, secretary, sort of catch-all person. We were going to have to put her on a flight and fly her down to Dallas, Texas, so she could deliver it by hand. FedEx wasn't fast enough.
The tape left. Bridget headed to the airport. She caught her flight. She got down to Dallas, handed the tape to the duplicator. It went off, and they started making copies of The Toy That Saved Christmas. Meanwhile, the rest of us just kind of collapsed. Everybody went home. But that night, about midnight, Phil Vischer, Bob the Tomato, wakes up with these terrible chest pains. He thinks he's having a heart attack. Lisa Vischer, his wife, Junior Asparagus, takes him to the emergency hospital. It takes him about 3 hours to figure out, well, no, it's not a heart attack, but actually a bacteria, because he's so depleted, his body is attacking his heart. And they send him home and put him in bed. He has to stay in bed for about a month. And then, now that he's rested up, we're thrilled he's alive. We know that's just terrific. But as soon as you get well, could you write the next script?
The Toy That Saved Christmas was a watershed film for us because we had never attempted anything limbid before. We just had vegetables.
In The Toy That Saved Christmas, the penguins, which I didn't appreciate at the time as a real dramatic production improvement, but they had arms and legs. I mean, they had wings and legs, featherless wings, albeit.
So the animators really started getting into, okay, give us some arms and legs, anything with arms and legs, which led to, okay, you want it? Here it comes. Buzzsaw Louie, a jointed toy, and then ultimately, the penguins.
Tom Danon at one point had the scene where Louie first steps out of the warehouse and slips and tumbles down the stairs into the snowball.
and he was just laboring over this, you know, how does this have to look and everything, and he finally, he saw a Jackie Chan movie, and he saw one point where Jackie's just like flying through the air, but his arms are windmilling and his legs are kicking, and it was just this, the perfect action fall. So that's where Tom got this inspiration to give Louis the Jackie Chan fall. So that's what it became from then on. Was Jackie Chan.
I didn't realize how difficult that was because of our software that we were using. I mean, actually animating appendages really slows down the process. It's why we use vegetables.
And it was actually on this show, The Toy That Saved Christmas, that one of our vegetables, for the first time, acted with his shoulders.
That's right.
And
That's
vegetables don't have shoulders, but Mr. Nezer shrugs. You know, as Ron Smith was the animator.
It's just the scene where the townspeople confront Nezer, and he's kind of, you know, oh, I don't know, what are you talking about? I don't know what you're doing. And I just put this little chuckle thing in there, and because he was more costumed than most of the other characters. He had his little shirt and tie and his pants. But just because I had that to kind of make visible the edges of his relatively spherical shape going up and down, it was this groundbreaking moment of vegetable thespianism.
And I just remember watching that. It's like, what? Play that again. How did you make him shrug? He doesn't have shoulders.
Quite some acclaim I gained with that one.
So it was on this show that, you know, the animators really started pushing the animation to a level beyond what I had conceived.
When Nezer has them all tied up on the sled at the end before he sends them to their doom, the ability of the computer to animate, like do secondary animation, if you move this character, having the rope move with him was impossible. We couldn't do that. So if you watch the show and you're like, that rope's not really around them that tight, they can get out of there. Just please remember that we were having to finagle that rope after, you know, after moving every character. It's good thing they're tied down and they can't move too much, but even then it was still pretty big chore.
Big Idea Productions presents the VeggieTales Christmas Spectacular!
We were excited that we were finally going to get one of our shows on TV. So we did a deal with PAX that had just started. It's like, well, this will be fun. Let's see if we can, you know, a new network, see if we can get a new audience to come to a new network to watch Veggies on Christmas.
Larry?
Yeah, Bob?
This is network television.
I know.
Do you know how hard it was to get a network to turn over an hour of airtime to a bunch of vegetables?
Well, I love Christmas music, so when we had a chance to do a Christmas show, I thought that was going to be a lot of fun, which it was. But we didn't use a lot of traditional Christmas music, so I had a lot of fun trying to sneak it in where I could. For example, on the silly song, Oh Santa, da 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 da, at the end there, through the whole verse, you hear jingle bells underneath there. At the very end of that song, you hear just a line of Joy to the World. Bum, bum, ba-dum, bum, 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 bum.
With a lot of the silly songs, it's kind of a conglomeration of a few different experiences for me.
Oh, Santa, I can't wait for you to come. I just can't wait for you to come, and I've got cookies.
You know, I think Oh Santa, you know, obviously I wanted it to, you know, have a Christmas theme. I had just seen, my wife and I went and saw the play The Kiss of the Spider Woman with Cheetah Rivera. And so we had just seen that, and there was a song in that kind of caught my attention. And it wasn't really the melody of the song, it was more of the style of the song. There were two singers kind of in a duet, and then they would, their lines would overlap, and they wouldn't be the same lines. So, you know, they'd be, you know, kind of singing over each other like that in a really kind of a cool fashion. So I thought, oh, that'd be really neat to do something like that.
We could do that too.
We could do that.
We
yeah.
could sing at the same time too.
Yes. We thought that, and then, and so, you know, so I came up with this concept of, you know, Larry, you know, having these cookies ready for Santa, and then, you know, different people would come and take his cookies besides Santa.
In the score, it's fun to sneak in some Christmas songs here and there also, but some of them aren't as familiar. For example, there's this one. See if you know this one. Which is, Willie, take your little drum, da-da-dum-bum-bum. But I like to sneak that in where there's some real action sequences. Bum, 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 bum. So I change up the rhythm and kind of hide it in there.
The messages are almost as much for parents as they are for kids. You know, like, hey, let's just look at how stupid this is. You know, that we're all running around, gotta have it, gotta have it, gotta have it, and it's stuff that no one needs at all. So that was the genesis of Buzzsaw Louie.
So you
The
see,
little, you know, like what if an action figure, you know, like a Cabbage Patch Kid stood up and said, hey, this is ridiculous, you know. This isn't what Christmas is about. You don't need me. I'm just a little stuffed sock, you know. And that's the storyline.
The Toy That Saved Christmas was another step in the chain. Every show we make leads to discoveries that enable us to make the next show, make every show that much better, that much bigger, that much grander. The stuff we learned in Toy That Saved Christmas went on to be used in Larry Boy versus the Fib from Outer Space and Josh and the Big Wall, and they in turn taught us things to make the stuff that came after them.
I think Big Idea Productions is the only company that makes children's programming that handles faith issues in such a relevant, real way, with great humor and enjoyment. So it's a joy to work with. But originally it was like everybody just kind of had their fingers crossed. They prayed in the morning, Lord, we sure hope we don't lose anything today because we don't have time to back it up, nor do we have the funds to pay for backup.
And they all lived happily ever after. The end.
Hi kids, Bob the Tomato here with a great activity you and your family can try. It's all about learning how to give. Instead of only thinking of yourself, just like Mr. Nezer learned in The Toy That Saved Christmas. This activity is called Here's the Scoop, Getting a Handle on Giving. To play, you'll need plastic spoons, tape, newspaper, plastic cups, a bowl, a watch, and some kind of light snack food. We're going to use candy, but you can use marshmallows, popcorn, whatever you have in the kitchen. To set up, everyone needs to take a big sheet of newspaper and roll it tightly into a tube that's 2.5 feet long or so and about 1 inch around. Tape it down to keep it from coming open. Then tape the handle of a plastic spoon on one end of the tube. It should look like a spoon with a very, very long handle. And remember, when making this contraption, the little folks might need some help from the big folks. Okay, now everybody needs to sit in a circle around the bowl of candy with their stretched spoon and a plastic cup. You have to hold the cup against your stomach for the entire activity, and you can only hold the spoon by the very end of the handle. But the littler folks can hold the spoon closer to the middle of the handle. It's only fair.
Okay, everybody, we've got 1 minute. Go!
So here's how you play. You each have to get as much candy as you can in your own cup in 1 minute. Remember, your cup has to stay in contact with your stomach, and you can only hold the very end of the handle. Start scooping! Do you think more practice will help? Try a few rounds to see if you can get more candy in your cup. Now's a good time to talk about what you learned. What's the solution? Does it have anything to do with what Mr. Nezer learned in The Toy That Saved Christmas? He learned how important it is to give, and not to just think of himself. Now, can you figure out the solution? Well, kids, that's all for me. I hope you had a great time. Oh, and if you're still stumped, check out our website at www.bigidea.com. We'll post the solution there. Merry Christmas!
Hi, everybody. Junior Asparagus here. Today we're going to show you how to make penguins. Well, not real penguins, but tasty snacks that look like Mr. Nezer's penguins from The Toy That Saved Christmas. My mom told me that first you'll need some jumbo black olives and some small black olives pitted. You'll also need some cream cheese, chopped chives, salt and pepper, toothpicks, and one big old carrot. If you want to add Bob and Larry and me, you'll also need a cherry tomato, a small pickle, a small spear of asparagus, and another big old carrot. Tyrone and Matthew are going to help me out today. Hi, Tyrone. Hi, Matthew. They're my friends. Okay, now you'll need to get a grown-up. Very important. Get a grown-up to slice the side of each jumbo olive and chop the chives. That is, if you like chives. You don't have to use them. The grown-up will also have to slice the carrot into rounds and cut out a triangle for the feet. Don't eat the triangle yet, okay? You're gonna need it in a minute. Let's see, what's next? Okay, after the grown-up is done, mix the cream cheese, chives, salt and pepper, and put it into a pastry bag. If you don't have a pastry bag, any plastic bag will do. Just cut one little corner with some scissors. Now this is the fun part. Squirt a little cheese mixture into each jumbo olive. Take the little carrot triangle beaks and press them into the small olives. Just like that. Here's a hint. A grown-up might have to cut a wedge in the small olive first to hold the beak. That's what Mom did for me. Oh, great. Now it's time to put it all together. Take a jumbo olive, put it on a carrot slice, and then put the small olive on top of the large olive. Aren't they great? But wait, there's more. If you want a whole VeggieTales scene, just like in the toy that saved Christmas, take a small pickle, a cherry tomato, and the top of a little spear of asparagus and put them on a carrot sled and put the whole gang on a little plate of cottage cheese snow. You might even want to dress us up with scarves and hats and earmuffs. Be creative. Use whatever you have around the kitchen. Like this, we used corn chips for the feet, and Mom made earmuffs out of blueberries. And there you have it. Bob, Larry, the penguins, and me. It's not really us, but don't be afraid to eat up. You know, veggies are good for you. Snack time!
One more. Smile.
Hey there, fans. I'm Bob the Tomato.
And I'm Larry the Cucumber.
And we have some really exciting news. Big Idea has just created the super fantastic Veggie Fan Club. The ultimate fan club for the ultimate VeggieTales fan.
If you're nuts about your veggies, you won't want to miss out on all the fun in the super fantastic Veggie Fan Club.
That's right, Larry. Members will get all kinds of cool stuff, including a VeggieTales video of their choice, an official membership certificate, exclusive toys, and our bi-monthly newsletter, The Veggie Bee, full of activities your whole family can enjoy.
Be sure to see the insert that came with this video or come to bigidea.com for more information. The super fantastic Veggie Fan Club is the fan club you've been waiting for. Don't miss out.